Thanks for staying with us. It's now to our first hot topic, which is that PDP governors challenge Fubara'S suspension in Supreme Court. The governors from 7 PDP-led states have filed a lawsuit at the Supreme Court contesting the 6-month suspension of Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The suspension imposed by President Bola Tinubu on March 18 followed his declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers and the appointment of a sole administrator. The governors argue that the suspension violates the Nigerian constitution, which they believe prohibits the president from suspending an elected governor or their deputy. The governors, supported by the attorneys general, claim that Tinubu lacks the constitutional authority to remove Fubara, his deputy, and the members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. They are seeking a declaration that the actions taken by the President and the National Assembly, including the voice vote ratifying the emergency declaration, were unconstitutional. They further argue that the declaration of a state of emergency did not follow proper legal procedures as set out in Section 305 of the Nigerian Constitution. In their suit, the governors also questioned the validity of the appointment of a sole administrator for Rivers State, arguing that the President's actions were not based on the grounds specified in the Constitution. They are requesting the Supreme Court to nullify both the suspension and the appointment, asserting that these actions breach the legal rights of the state and its officials. Now, our guest this morning is GODSWILL Jumbo publisher KRISTINA Reports. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Yes, good morning. My pleasure being with you again.
I wish we could meet in circumstances that do not have to talk about the crisis in Rivers State. It's always as if there is one crisis or the other in Rivers State whenever we meet. I wish we could have something else to discuss most of the time. But now, let's just start with the security situation in Rivers State. How is it looking like?
Okay, in terms of the security situation, like I've always said in the various fora that I have, had the opportunity of speaking, I've said that the conditions precedent for the state of emergency to be declared were absent, because I can tell you from my standpoint as a journalist who's been on the streets, in the mangrove, in the forest, everywhere, to get in various neighborhoods, like we know what's going on. The security situation in Rivers State is stable. Like, not even a gunshot has gone off anywhere around this period. So everywhere is fine, everywhere is safe. And even the pockets of protest that would have even, greeted the declaration of the state of emergency, at the back end, efforts were made to just ask everybody to just, calm down and then let the legal processes be pursued to address the issues. But Rivers State is safe, Rivers State is secure, Rivers State is peaceful. And even the attempt by some maybe field columnists to try to use the oil facilities to, paint a picture of crisis. We've been able to also diffuse that by making sure we get the right information out about what happened in Cotton Channel, in Boni, in Soku, in Akutoro, LGA, in Okrika, and everywhere else, to show that there was no act of terrorism, no act of vandalism like that. And even the police commissioner the other day in concert with his colleagues from the various services, the Army, Navy, and all of them, also were able to parade some people who wanted to make attempts to, cause any form of crisis, maybe vandalize the oil and gas facilities and all of that. I think about 3 persons were arrested, and the weapons they would have used to cause the problem were also confiscated, and those people will be made to face prosecution. But generally, Rivers State is peaceful.
Just confirm for me, the immediate cause of this emergency was the bursting or the explosion that we were shown that happened in Rivers State. And we had some other reports that said that pipeline that was said to have been bombed, as it were, was never bombed. because it was working maybe like 2 days after that state of emergency was declared. How true is this? Since you just talked about putting out the right information, what's the right information? Was there really a vandalism of that pipeline or not?
Okay, basically, let's put it straight. There was no explosion anywhere in River State. No explosion at all. But fire outbreak, yes. But tampering with the pipelines, yes. But explosion, no. And the security agencies are also on top of this situation. Some arrests have been made, investigations are on. But the beautiful thing is that the companies themselves, for instance, Shell, NNPC, Renaissance Africa Energy Company Limited, and the others have been able to speak up and say their facility may have been tampered with, but there were no act of terrorism, no explosion, nothing. I personally spoke with the head of media relations in Shell, and he said in Soku, their gas plant was fine. The pipeline had an issue, both had a fire outbreak, but aside that, nothing else. And then the Soku community too has spoken up and said there was no act of terrorism anywhere around their community. The Soku gas plant was fine. In Bonny, in Cotton Channel, it was a thunderstorm on Sunday night, that struck a wellhead and caused the fire. That fire has also been contained. In Okrika, one of the pipelines ruptured that was conveying petroleum products, and then NNPC and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps have stepped in and fixed it. So there's no issue there. In Budo, the Renaissance Africa has come out to say yes, the pipeline was tampered with, but there was no explosion. And then the same thing in Onelga, as in Agip, and the companies there have also made it clear that there was no explosion. So this is the right information that we have about what has happened. As by explosion, no. Act of vandalism, maybe yes. Terrorism, no. So that's the situation we have.
Okay. And let's go back to issues, consequences, more or less, of this state of emergency. We hear now that Ibas has just suspended all political appointees. So how are they taking it? What's the situation now in River State? He has also asked all heads of local governments to submit 2-year reports from their various local governments. And we heard that this is causing some kind of tension, not the kind of tension that would bring violence, but the urgency in what he's asking is making some of these heads of local governments to be apprehensive or something.
Okay, actually, on the issue of the political appointees, I think it's just about reinforcing what is already in place. There's nothing new about that, pronouncement or declaration. The state of emergency declaration by the president was clear that the executive and legislative arms of government are suspended. So if the legislature and the executive are suspended, so what happens? The House of Assembly guys are on suspense. So all their aides automatically are out of work for now, pending when their principals are back. The governor is out of office, the deputy governor are out of office on suspension. So what happens to their appointees, the commissioners, the heads of NDAs, the heads of tax forces, whatever? But naturally now they will have to also hold on until their principals are back. But Vice Admiral Ibokete, being the process person he is, the thoroughbred he is, those who know his antecedents back there in the Navy can tell you he is, an intelligence officer of repute. He wants to, check all his boxes. So for the avoidance of any form of ambiguity, so that's why the statement has to be made that in case you didn't get it right, if your boss, the House of Assembly members are on suspension. So you too are on suspension. If your boss, the governor or the deputy governor, are on suspension, you too, as the appointees, whether as an aide, whether as a commissioner, and whatever, if your appointment came from them, naturally, you are also under suspension. You need to give way until they are back in office. So they just to clear any form of ambiguity. So there is nothing extraordinary about it, nothing controversial. About the local government, there is really no cause for apprehension. And the heads of local government for some time now has been, managing the local government. Even when the political leadership was there, they are actually like the pansets of their various LGAs. So the sole administrator is not from Rivers State, is not part of the government of Rivers State. If he is going to have a proper hand, a proper grasp of how things play out, in the various LGAs, he needs to have some basic information. And it is not fundamental information he's asking for. He's not asking for anything extraordinary. And I don't think he's taking that information to his house. It's all for administrative purposes. Remember, he's not a politician. He's not in the arena. He's not contesting anything with anybody. It's just for effectual, and efficient administration of the state. And he cannot work in the dark. He can't get it wrong. For this period of suspense in the state, he has to get everything to the extent possible, get it right. So that is why this information is being requested. And I already am aware that some of the HLGAs are already, responding to that. And it's not much. It's not like they're going to look for the information anywhere else. It's already with them. It's just the normal day-to-day functions of the local governments. And these people are vast in their work. They are versatile. They are professional. And they come highly recommended. Many of them are PhD holders. Many of them, have been tasked with bigger assignments than even the job of managing the administration of their LGAs. So they are within their territory, within their environment. So it's not something, anybody who is saying that it's causing apprehension, that means the person is suggesting that something might be wrong somewhere. But I don't know whether there's anything wrong anywhere when it comes to the civil service. So there is no need for apprehension. If any infractions will be committed in the administration of the local government, and naturally that should be in the place of the politicians. Is it the call of the HLGA? The HLGA is not the one that approves money to be spent. It's not the one that appoints people into whatever positions. It's not the one dispensing favors or trying to brandish opportunities. No, his own is a process person who manages the process. So what will be the cause of the apprehension? Will you arrest me for something somebody else did? Obviously not. So there's really no cause for apprehension. The sole administrator, as I understand, just wants to have the right information, the fundamentals, to be able to run the state effectively. He's not there. He's not there in the various, in all the 23 LGAs. He's not there. So he needs that information to be able to drive, what he's driving. And remember, he's not doing it for political purposes. He doesn't need that information to understand how many voters are in each of the LGAs so that they will vote for him when he's contesting for an election. No, he's just here on a temporary basis, hold the state together, make sure everything goes well. And then when the president is satisfied with whatever he's doing with the governor and the legislators, and then he steps out and goes his way. So there is no cause for alarm at all. I don't see any need.
Okay, that's good. We are somehow, some people are divided over the news that the governor of Fubara'S is feasting with the president. We heard that he was invited to breakfast or something. Both he and Wike were invited by the president, and he is there. Some people are happy that at least it shows that he has no grudges, he has no problems. Some people are thinking that he shouldn't have gone. I don't know how that is, but confirm to us the state in which Fubara is now. At some point, some people raised alarm that they have not seen him for a long time, and then he showed up and attended service, church service and all that. Now we hear that he's even visiting the president and all. So describe to us what you think the state of the president is right now.
Okay, for me, I think that's like a step in the right direction. Remember, before now, even on this platform, I have made that call that Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, as a former governor of Rivers State, should be able to rise to the call of statesmanship. The feuding parties are all his voice. Whatever issues he has with Fubara, his anger is being, reflected by the legislators. But basically, they are all students of his political school of thought. So he should be able to rein them in and talk to them. But somehow, it appears he didn't hint to that and kept making statements that were inflammatory, that were motivational, that were inciting and all of that. And then his followers, leveraging on that, we are acting in ways that, had to force the president to make the call for a state of emergency. So if the president is now asking that both of them, the governor and the FCT minister, both of them should meet with him, I think they step in the right direction. In this case now, we're not dealing with Tinubu, we're dealing with the president, who, by virtue of his position, is the father of the nation currently. So him calling two of his sons together to talk with them about the situation in Rivers State is a step in the right direction. But I think we also need to sound the note of caution that the bias that already is in the public space, from the statements of the president, from some of his actions, I think the president should use this opportunity of this breakfast meeting with these two men to be able to clear that he is not on any side, because he cannot blame the governor for whatever was the issue in Rivers State. He cannot blame the governor. The governor has demonstrated that disposition to peace. When the state of emergency was declared, and the soldiers came, he opted to leave immediately, opted to leave. He didn't constitute any form of nuisance, any form of obstacle to the incoming sole administrator. He made sure that whatever the Vice Admiral Ibokete needed to get on his job, he was there. That's something to commend. When the Supreme Court ruled, he indicated without wasting of time his disposition to, implement the decision of the Supreme Court, whether favorable or not. When the meeting with the president held, 2 years ago, and then a resolution was reached, he signed up and he came and showed the disposition to implement. So, but what has happened on the side of the FCT minister? Has he shown that same positive disposition to peace, to allowing good governance in the state to thrive? Has he shown that disposition? It appears that has not happened. So it is time for the president to show that he is not on the side of his minister. This is an opportunity for him, because a confidence building is key in negotiations. He has to make the governor to believe that he is not on any side. If he raises the whip, he should be able to whip both sides properly and for everybody to fall in line. If he also, advances the carrot, it should be available to everybody who has shown the disposition to comply with what the law requires, And then I think he needs to go the extra mile of leveraging his influence as the president, as the political leader of the country as at now, to be able to get something out of that breakfast meeting. But if you ask me the state of mind of these two people, or of the three of them, I think the president means well. I don't know, I'm not speaking for him, but I think for him to take the steps he has taken, even the illegal declaration of a state of emergency, I think, it is like not allowing your house to burn. It's like, not allowing things to go bad, So even though it is illegal, but in many quarters, people view it, what would he have done? What would he have done? Imagine if the impeachment has gone through. Imagine if Fubara has reacted. Imagine if Fubara was uncooperative with all that has happened. What would have been the state of things in Rivers State?
Okay.
So,
in the remaining 2 minutes, in the remaining about 2 minutes that we have, I'd like now to really go back to the to what we brought before. The PDP governors are challenging the state of emergency in Rivers State. So now Fubara is out of the question. We've seen how he's behaving in the face of all this, and how he has been behaving in the face of all this, and like you said, it's commendable enough. And the State House of Assembly is out of it, everybody is out of it, but the PDP governors are the ones now making the challenge. They have now taken the case to the Supreme Court, I think, to talk about how illegal or otherwise it was for the president to declare a state of emergency for 6 months. I'd like you to speak to that as fast as possible.
No, it's a good one that the legal route is being pursued. It's a good one that the PDP governors are taking the legal route to go to the apex court and challenge it. That's the proper thing to do. But ab initio, at face value, if you look at the provisions of the Constitution, in all the sections that have been referenced, it is clear that the state of emergency should not have even happened. But like I said, desperate times require desperate measures. So I may not begrudge the president for stepping into a situation that was politically getting out of hand. Maybe there was no violence, maybe there was no terrorism, maybe there was not all those things he said that was happening in Rivers State. None of that happened. But in terms of the tension that all of those political activities we are creating, it was A or B. So I commend the governors on the PDP platform for taking the step they are taking. But the challenge is not even them going to court. The challenge is with what we've been seeing being dished out by the Supreme Court. What is the confidence that Nigerians have? What is the hope that, anything good will even come out of that attempt? The Supreme Court has increasingly, eroded the trust, the confidence that Nigerians have for it. And I think it is time it needs to take a step backward and look at itself again and try to see if the picture it is seeing of itself is the same picture that Nigerians are seeing. So for the PDP governors to go to court and ask the Supreme Court to look at Section 308, Section 188, and all the other sections relating to the declaration of the state of emergency is a positive step in the right direction, fine. But the Supreme Court, are we sure that the Supreme Court will give an unbiased, a thoroughly researched position on whatever will be their decision on that matter? That is where the issue is. So going to court is not the issue. It is, as they say, giving water to a monkey is not a problem, but it is collecting your cup back that is the issue. So we are confident we should go to court, but are we sure that we will come back with anything positive? That's why the problem is.
We hope we get the justice that we want. We hope we get the justice that this case deserves, not what anybody wants. We hope that they will respect the Constitution for once, because if the Constitution were respected, we wouldn't be in this problem at all, because things that are spelled out in the Constitution are what were left out and made us get to this problem. Otherwise, we would have known who actually were the State House of Assembly members in River State because of the provisions of the Constitution. But this was jettisoned, and then we had problems calling people factions that shouldn't have been called factions, but former members. But that's not for me to interpret. We hope that we'll get the judgment that this case deserves. I would like to thank you, Mr. Jumbo, for coming on the show this morning and giving us this update.
Thank you, too. It's my pleasure always being here.
Thank you.
I always say, be calling me.
Have a nice day and be safe. We've been talking with Mr. GODSWILL Jumbo Publisher KRISTINA Reports, and we were looking at the challenge that the governors are giving the emergency rule. But before we got into that even, we talked on sundry other issues bordering on River State and the situation right now on ground. We'll take a short break and return with another hot topic that we hope that will be of interest to you. This time, we will be talking about electricity consumers paying a humongous amount despite grid collapses. Stay with us.